I would say probably the biggest mistake made in email marketing is not testing. I'm constantly amazed at the number of people who assume that they've got a best practice in place, they've got some kind of methodology that works for them, and they don't test. In this day and age, it's all about testing. It's entirely about making sure that you're doing all the things that are experimental, that you're finding new and different ways to provide value to your community, to provide information to your audience, to serving them well, and doing stuff that just makes sense for them. There's all kinds of new innovations. There's ad server innovations happening now. There's ways to bring RSS feeds and blog posts in. There's multivariate testing getting built into emails. So there is any number of ways that people should be testing, and they're not. That's the thing, is you look in what comes in your inbox and you talk to people at conferences, and they're not testing. So, when it comes to the importance of things, email and social and content creation, it is not a linear scale of importance from least important to most important. They're kind of like three legs on a tripod almost, where you have content, that's the meat and potatoes of the value that you can provide. You have distribution, which is email, and to some degree social, and then you have conversation, which is really social's main domain of expertise. And these three things work in a virtuous circle. If you have good content, you distribute it to people, and then you have conversation, which creates more awareness, which gets more people back to the content, which gives you greater distribution, which creates more conversation. These things happen in this, I like to call it the virtuous circle, where if you do it right, it builds on itself. It keeps growing, and it makes you a more powerful marketer. And with few exceptions, these things can be relatively low cost to do. They're a lot of work, they're a lot of effort. You need to build a lot of expertise, but they're not going to be bank breakers like pay-per-click could be, or direct mail, or any of those things. The number one piece of advice for optimizing open rates is this: provide really good content, and people will want it. They will look for your email. They will spread word of mouth about it. I like to hold up as sort of the gold standard of this Peter Shankman's helpareporter.com, his list. He's got a huge list, like 200,000 people or something like that. He sends out 3 times a day. That, in the world of email marketing is just totally nuts. But he has a ridiculously high open rate, because in every single version of his newsletter, there's an opportunity possibly for you or a colleague that you know, or someone who's in a related industry, to get some free press, free earned media, and there's tremendous value in that. So every single issue of Help Reporter that comes out, people spring to open it and try and beat their competitors to reading it and opening it and replying to the journalists who want the opportunity to get some free earned media. So provide really good value, and people will want to open your emails. If you provide value that's then all the little tricks like pre-headers and subject lines and stuff like that won't matter as much. The role of design in a newsletter is reasonably important. It's not as good as the quality of the content, but it's still important to direct people to where you want them to go and what you want them to do. That's pretty typical of any kind of design news. If it's not channeling people to do what you want them to do, it's not going to perform as well for you. That said, you don't need to be creating masterpieces of art. You can if you want to, and in some cases you might have to if you're like a design firm, but it's not mandatory. In terms of improving your layout, probably the biggest suggestion is design with a multitude of devices in mind. Some people are going to read on their desktop, and some people are going to read on their mobile device and on their iPad, and all of these things have different form factors. It goes back to the first question you were asking about the biggest mistake made in email marketing is testing. Test your stuff out on different devices and see what's going to render best. Something that looks great on an HDTV-sized, Retina display MacBook. What is it, like a Super HD screen, the equivalent like a 50-inch television on your desktop, is going to look real different on a tiny little iPhone or on a BlackBerry. So you want to make sure that you're testing for all the different ways that people read your email. A good proxy for this is go to your website, go to your Google Analytics data, and go under the Visitors tab and look at the operating systems and display sizes people are using. If you've got a significant minority of people on a phone-sized display or whatever, you need to be adjusting your emails to fit what your web analytics are telling you your folks are visiting your website with already. I'm going to be a bit biased on this one because of the company I work for, What Counts. I mean, our tagline is find and grow your email marketing ROI. And I think that's probably the question that people are asking the question, but they're asking it in the wrong context. They're just sort of saying, what's the ROI of email? Well, no, what's the ROI of your email marketing? I get this a lot. People love industry averages. They love to say, what's the industry average open rate? What's the industry average click-through? What's the industry average ROI? And, that's... It's really hard to say this, but that's the wrong question, and here's why. Even in niches, there's such dramatic differences between businesses that industry averages are pretty much worthless. Think about it. If you have a Golden Slacks hedge fund, right, over here, and you have Smallville Credit Union over here, they're both financial services, but they have supremely different audiences. Golden Slacks is catering to the Fortune 50 crowd. These guys over here are trying to get grandma to take the quarters out of the jar on her kitchen counter. These are really, really different audiences. Still financial services. Their open rates are going to be different. Their response rates are going to be different. The services they offer and the value of those services are going to be different. So you're going to see different performances. The best advice I can give is don't worry about averages or industry standard. Worry about making sure that your metrics are improving a little bit each time you send an email. Every single time you send an email, your open rate should be a little bit higher. Your click-through rate should be a little bit higher. Your conversion rate should be a little bit higher. And if you keep focusing on, Tony Robbins calls it continuing and never-ending improvement. The Japanese call it Kaizen. If you focus on this Kaizen, you will get a better newsletter. And you won't really care what the industry average is. You'll know that your performance and the results you drive are going to be much, much better over time. So that would be the one thing marketers, I would say, are not asking, and it should be, is how can we improve over time? You can find What Counts at whatcounts.com. We are more than happy to give you a hand with email marketing services. You can also just give us a call at 866-804-0076. You can find me at christopherspenn.com and at cspenn on Twitter. Thanks a lot.